When the fires died down and the guests are full, the only thing left to do is enjoy the company. Best done with a fresh cigar and a cold drink. This is After the Cook.
All right, everybody, it's another episode of After the Cook. It's Mel, Dark Side of the Grill, my man, the barbecue Buddha in the house. How you doing today, Buddha?
What's up, man? You sound congested. Are you
I'm not.
okay?
I'm not.
Okay?
I'm not okay. Thank you for asking.
Well, hey.
You might have noticed from 1,000 of my stories there that I quit drinking for like
10 minutes.
a day, right? So yeah, 10 minutes. So whatever. And I fell off the wagon last night, and I woke up in the hot tub a couple hours later, and my head was frozen. Almost
like
to the
actually
side.
frozen because it's cold up in Canada.
Minus 20
yes.
Celsius, yeah. So for like 4 or 5 hours, I was in the hot tub sleeping. My body was warm, but my head and my hair was actually frozen. So pretty much.
Did you?
And now I feel stuffy.
Now, I don't mean to sound insensitive, but by any chance, did you think to take a little video or a picture of yourself when you woke up? I imagine you look like the cold miser or something. Your hair must have been all blue and icicles on your mustache.
The one time I didn't put it in a story. Eh?
Right. Are you physically okay? Were you not? You weren't submerged, or were you frostbitten anywhere? Any of your parts physically altered or removed because of that experience?
I don't think so. My hands were in the water, so I don't have any frostbite or anything. So, which I assume I would have got on my nose or something, but I think from the steam it prevented it. But still, the cold, everything was frozen. It was crazy.
The question begs: what woke you up? Was like an owl? Did it land on your head and start?
You know how scary that would be. I don't know, because it was gone by the time I came to. Right. So yeah, there's that. You never know.
Is there any wildlife that's out and active in negative 20 Celsius? I mean, are there
all of it.
Birds chirping
in Canada,
and squirrels?
Buddy, there's wolves that walk through our alley.
Okay.
It's insane up. It's Canada. It's Canada.
Right.
We oftentimes you'll have a moose walk through our freeway. It is what it is. It's
well,
there are deer literally like 10 blocks away from my house. There's a power plant that's on a railway.
Right.
And the deer walk up the railway into where the power plant is.
Okay.
So anytime you're driving on the freeway, you can look and see families of deer just standing in this open field.
Is it because the power plant puts off heat and they get closer to the warmth?
No, it's like all fenced in. You can't get there, but the only place that's not fenced is to the railway track. So they walk up the railway track, walk through the fence there, and then they're stuck in this compound, right? And then they just can't figure out to leave. Well, I assume people probably have, but you'd have to hop the fence to collect it.
Or go up the railway track.
Well, there you go. Exactly.
I mean, I'm not a smart guy, but I picked up on that back door to this place.
Congratulations. I'm still.
So, how was New Orleans? I mean, we saw the pictures. Let me start out by saying this. You know, it was funny every time you'd ask people where to go eat. And it was funny, like the first 3 times I would give you my rock solid, without a fail suggestion.
Yes.
And then I kept expecting somewhere in the middle of your visit you would go to this place, and you never did. So let's start out by saying why your partner in crime, your friend, your foodie friend, gives you this amazing suggestion. Was it just it was like Reddit? My comment didn't make it to the top of the list.
Truth be told, Mel was in the French Quarter. I was right smack dab in the center of the French Quarter. I didn't have a car. I just stayed in the French Quarter.
Okay.
So to get into that voodoo church, I had to go far west outside of the quarter. I walked for an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah.
To get out to that voodoo church where I got my chicken foot, and then I was able to come back. But
that was pretty good.
Dude, it was wild.
When I saw so first of all, like, of all the stuff you do, I was like, oh, what is he gonna? When's the weird stuff gonna happen? And then there was that late night club where I thought it was about to happen. But when you woke up that next morning, you were like, hey, can anybody tell me? I really need to get a chicken foot. I said, oh, Lord, I can't wait to see how this thing is going to play out. So,
yeah.
Did you ever see that movie with Mickey Rourke and what was her name? She's Lenny Kravitz's wife. And
I don't think she's
Bill Cosby. She played Bill Cosby's daughter on the God, what is her name? She's a beautiful woman. She's married, and they have like anyway, they were in a movie about New Orleans, voodoo type stuff. It was really creepy, and that's what I thought I was going to see when Mel started asking for a chicken foot. In that movie, they showed some like hardcore Santeria, like the
with the chickens
stuff.
and the So yeah, Jordan, figured that out because I'd love to see it.
Yeah, it's a pretty creepy movie, actually.
The way that this worked, and I'm just going to show you if that's all right. I'm going to tilt my camera just for a second.
Please. Should we give a motion sickness warning to the audience at this point?
Where is he?
Oh, yeah.
Can you see him? Hold on. So that's Fred. That's
Is that
Fred.
The voodoo had the shrunken head.
So let's do the story of this in the middle of the story for New Orleans, okay?
Okay.
So that we can,
is that an actual shrunken head?
Hold on. So we can cue this up. So Mel breeds and collects reptiles. Big fan of herpetology, right?
Are we talking about the same Mel? That's you?
This Mel. Yeah, I'm
okay.
Third person. And when I do stories, I like third person. So Mel loves reptiles and whatever. There was a huge reptile convention in Calgary. So I go to purchase a super expensive star tortoise. Super rare. The guy came all the way from Toronto, drove in a van, and he had this star tortoise. Super, super rare. Very excited to get it. The guy also did insects that he would put into cases and display. So this guy flies all over the world, bringing wild stuff, right?
Right.
And he had just come from, I believe it was Papua New Guinea. I honestly don't remember, the Congo or something. He was just there collecting insects. And we were talking about like weird stuff, like, me right away. What kind of weird stuff do we have? And
right.
And he laughs. He's like, dude, I don't know how I got this in here, but I got a shrunken head. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Like here? On you? Like, let me see it right away, right? And as soon as I saw Fred, I was like, how much do you want? And I had just blown like $2,700 on this tortoise.
Right.
And he's like, I don't know what they're worth. I don't know. I wasn't really thinking of selling it, but I'm looking at it.
The question that's on everybody's mind right now. I was about to say head, but that'd be too close for comfort.
Yes.
Is it an actual shrunken human head?
So it has eyelashes.
Okay.
It has nostrils that are open, and the like a foreskin around the neck area.
Okay.
It is a total real shrunken head.
Wow.
And I got it for $1,700, and I didn't look back. So now, right back to New Orleans. Right here's Mel in this like voodoo store, and it's totally bullshit.
Now is it touristy and cheesy?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's stupid, man. And then she's like, "Can I help you with some incense? You want some incense for your hotel room?" And blah blah. And I'm like, "What is this?" It's they told me I could find a chicken foot, and she's like, "Yeah, we've got some hanging on a thing here," and they're like pink with rings on them and stuff. And I'm like, not looking for some gaudy. Like, I'm looking for a real chicken foot. I'm trying to protect myself from thieves. Is why I need the chicken foot. So whatever it is, so. And then I saw she had a plastic shrunken head hanging behind the cash register. And I'm like, that's funny. I have a real one. No, you don't. Right away. And I'm like, well, no, I do. Like, and I told her the story. And she like takes a step back. Do you ever give it anything? I said, well, no, he's not really hungry. And she said, you must have all kinds of bad juju in your house. You need to like put some stuff, like, put some fruit in a plate underneath them or something. Like, at least once a month, give them something. I'm like,
so she turned from a tourist shopkeep to a real voodoo lady.
Dude,
like,
she took me in the back so fast. There was a guy on the phone doing like readings to people, and it was like there was a bunch of people back. Like it was an actual church. They have group meetings and shit back, and there was all kinds of wild like things have nails sticking out of them and weird dead stuff everywhere. And that was when I was like, yeah, baby, this is what. And then right away, I'm like, I got to get out of here. Give me the chicken foot. I got to get out. But yeah, it was wild, man.
Dancing in a sea of,
So I wanted everything. I wanted to buy it because you know me, I like, heads and bodies of things. I love it. So it was crazy. It was, but yeah.
Well, okay, I've got to ask the other obvious question now. Have you since returning to Edmonton, have you since been laying offerings to your, is it Fred?
I literally forgot about it till just now. And now I am
you better like go get some, get some of that brisket and give Fred, is it Fred? The head is Fred?
Fred
give
the head,
Fred
exactly.
some brisket.
Yeah. So that was a really weird conversation. You know what else is really weird?
I can't even begin to think.
We've got a wild guest for you guys today. You guys are going to freak right out.
The very first thing I think when introducing this next guest is either shrunken heads or chicken feet. I definitely, those conjure up this guest, who is one of my, truly, and she knows it, she'll say it. I call her all the time to ask her for advice. She's one of my greatest inspirations online because they run the best blog barbecue business of all the people out here doing this barbecue influencing side hustle stuff. It's Susie Bulloch from Heeeey Grill Heeeey.
Awesome.
Is joining us today.
Let's get it.
And that rhyme.
Just like that. How you people doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing fantastic. There's two of you. I'm so happy.
We're gonna have to do that intro again because Jordan said
Sorry,
Susie's
bonus
here.
Todd.
And then I was hoping for Todd, but we just gave you this great intro and only said Susie. I left all
Listen.
of the great things about Todd out.
Surprise
So I have to
Todd
do it
is
again.
the best version of
No,
Todd,
no.
actually. You know what I'm saying?
I can't call him Surprise Todd. It's Taste Tester Todd is the only way that I'm thinking about him going forward.
I love it. I love it. Oh, this is going to be
Well,
fun.
hey, are you at your warehouse or your new house or where? I mean, you have so much life change going on with the two of you. I don't know how to keep track.
We are at the warehouse. Our new house does not have the internet. So we are going on 2 weeks of trying to live with just like the hotspot data on our cell phones, and it is not ideal.
Mine's gone.
Todd's is out, mine is limping, and it is reserved only at this point for like children's homework.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So if we're working, we got to be at the warehouse. We're doing our best.
Do you now feel like you're living an episode of like the Yellowstone prequel where you're just out in the wilderness on the Oregon Trail, like trying to survive without
Yeah.
internet?
Yeah, that's what it feels like, to be honest.
Yeah.
Todd was like, listen, man, I just got to watch some TV somehow. Like, figure it out. I just have to watch television.
That's football,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, and football.
That's hilarious.
It's glad to have you guys here.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having
Yeah,
us.
this is fun.
Absolutely.
We got a million questions for you, so get ready.
So, you
Oh
know,
my
the great
gosh,
thing
great.
about this is as many times as we've either communicated via text or email or phone, I did not know this about you. Your family had a steakhouse, and that's how you grew up. The reason why that's so exciting and important to me is my father had a steakhouse, and I grew up the son of a steakhouse owner too.
No way.
Yeah, he had 3 restaurants in the Washington, D.C. area when I was growing up. And so I know a thing or two about that life, and it isn't easy.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we leaned heavy. My dad was actually a certified hotelier. So
Okay.
he and his several partners own multiple just small regional hotels throughout Utah and Arizona and Wyoming. And several of them had restaurants attached, but the one where I spent a majority of my time was in this teeny tiny town called Tropic, Utah, just outside of Bryce Canyon National Park. It's one of the most beautiful places I personally believe in the whole entire world. I've traveled a lot, and it's always been a second home to me. We'd go down early summer, right, peak, tourism season for national parks, and I would work. In the mornings, I'd wake up and do the breakfast shift at the restaurant and
Yep.
host and wait tables and bus tables and, short order restaurant dining experience, all of that. And then during the day, I would clean all the hotel rooms after people checked out. And then we would haul bags for new people checking in. And then I would go work the night shift either at the front desk or back at the restaurant. And yeah, we did steaks and pork chops and, baked potatoes on the side and salad bar and
What all the
that
the
stuff.
Europeans wanted.
Yeah, the Europeans wanted that classic Americans. They were so excited. I could not tell you
Potatoes.
the size of the ribeyes that we would bring out and the New York strips and the fillets, and I would just see the wonder and awe over these massive cuts of beef, and it changed me forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a really, really cool way to grow up. I learned a lot about the value of working really hard and working long hours, and the restaurant industry is tough. and brutal. And I also learned a ton about hospitality and what it really meant to feed people, and to have that really valuable exchange of food with a memory and an experience tied to it. So it was awesome.
Yeah, the work ethic thing is what stands out to me the most, is because you just can't learn that stuff. When I eventually got into the corporate world and IT and stuff for a while, it was amazing to me because in a restaurant, your projects are right there. You go in for your lunch shift, you prep, you execute the project, you do all the tallying up, the closing out the checks, and then you get ready for dinner. And for me, that's how I was geared. You just learn this work ethic, get it, go now. It was very strange to get into the corporate world where a project would take 6 months.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, oh God,
yes.
like you don't get that rewarding feeling. Now, did your parents put you immediately to work? Like my dad was not kind to me in that sense. Like at 12, he wanted me to learn that work ethic, and I started washing dishes and then worked my way up every position in the kitchen before even getting to the front of the house. Were your parents cruel in that way, where they made
Not
you learn
cruel.
some sort of...
So the interesting thing was that my dad operated more in the owner role, and there were managers that actually ran the restaurants that I worked for. So I was an employee just as much as anybody else was an employee. I just, started younger because you're legally allowed to bus tables at a family restaurant, I believe, at 8 years old in Utah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Nice.
I was hauling around a little bus tub. I dropped my first one. Then they made me start using the cart. You put the bus tub on the cart and push it around. And we were hauling bags and bussing tables. I think I got $0.25 a bag, like 25 cents for every bag that I carried up to somebody's rooms. And there were no elevators. It was a motel, so the doors opened to the outside, and all the stairs were exterior. And so I ran a lot of stairs as a kid, hauling a lot of people's bags, and bust a bunch of tables. And I remember the year that my dad said, this year I think you could work as a hostess. And I was like, I have made it. I have peaked front of house. I'm no longer scrubbing dishes until my fingers bleed. Like it was such a glorious day that I got to work as a hostess. And then I realized how mean people were. I was like, wait, they're not all having a good time?
In the back of the house,
I don't understand. But moving into like that hostess waitress position and working for tips, and like I said, I think waitressing was I think everybody should work a restaurant job first and foremost. I mean, from the customer service element alone, it's a worthy experience to partake in. But really learning the art of hospitality and taking care of people and having those personal relationships, develop with customers is really awesome. And I love that I got to experience that and be a part of it. But yes, grueling hours, lots of hard work.
No
but
joke.
like you said, very instantaneous reward. I think we deal in a world with a lot of like delayed gratification and everyone... but there is a lot of instant satisfaction in the restaurant world. You do have that one shift mentality where you come and you go and you close it down and then you go home. And that experience was all encompassing. And I don't know, it's a really unique experience.
I did a tour in Wendy's when I was there. And same deal. They would, work in the grill. That was my deal. And as soon as I get anywhere close to the cash registers, they're like, no, get back.
Todd was a Dairy Queen boy.
That's, you don't put Mel with the people, right? Oh, you got a problem with that potato, bacon bits, scrape them off.
Yeah.
And you don't? Okay. I just fixed your problem. It was one of those things. But
well, that's why I didn't let you near the cash register, because you were putting the potato toppings in the cash register, and
Correct.
That just wasn't a good,
That's it. No, I love that, like, everybody's story, you hear the hustle where it started, and it's always like the same kind of thing, and it's awesome. You guys have been absolute monsters in the industry. You guys are like, it's crazy. It's great, and that's I was very
You're
excited.
telling us.
Yeah, I was very excited to hear like the origin story of how that came around. So Todd was Dairy Queen, were you?
Yeah, I worked the fryers, and not exactly the grill. I don't remember the name of the machine, but you put a frozen patty in, and then it's on a belt, and then it comes out done at the end. That's all I knew.
Yeah, awesome. It was, what was that trend on social media for a while? I was 0 days old when I found out. I was 0 days old when I found out that Dairy Queen has fryers. Dairy Queen has fryers? I've only ever gotten a Blizzard at Dairy Queen, or the ice cream that they dip and they, anything they turn upside down is what I've gotten at Dairy Queen. I had no idea
French
that
fries.
they have French fries at Dairy Queen.
French fries.
Dude, they
Chicken
got
strip basket.
hamburgers. Yeah, dude.
Wow.
The flamethrower. You've never
It
had
depends.
a flamethrower?
Yeah.
I have had a Blizzard, and I've had the cone that they anything that they turn upside down. French fries wouldn't work well turning upside down unless you had a lot of cheese, and they may stick to the packaging. I'm not sure.
No, they had separate restaurants, so some were ice cream only, but then they started introducing ice cream and food. Hot eats, cool treats, you know?
Wow,
He
you
remembers
even remember the
slogan.
market.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
Now that's
We treat
that's gonna
you
be
right.
stuck in my head. Hot eats, cool treats.
Hot eats, cool treats, guys. That's the name of the
treat you
episode
right.
now.
That's
Watch
it.
out
That's
for the trademark infringement.
Yeah, right. Wow, that's gonna make us go up in the rankings with that.
We have a guy for that.
Query.
If he's awake. If he's awake.
So you go from your restaurant business and your family restaurant business, and then I think it was 2013, and then when you started doing the blogging thing. So before we even dive into that, because it's, I think everybody knows about that, what happened between your growing up in 2013? What the hell were you doing?
So I turned 18. I was going to college, actually, about an hour and a half away from where the hotel and restaurant was, and every weekend I would drive over there and work the weekends, kind of until the end of October when all of that slowed down. And somewhere in there, my first day before I started college, my freshman year, this guy walked into my apartment with a friend of his, and I just thought he was very cute. He had a jacket that I liked, and he listened to music that I liked, and he wore a band t-shirt of a band that I liked.
What was the band?
Oh, I can't even remember. Pick one. Was it Reliant K? Maybe not
Could
that
be.
first.
Blink,
Anyway,
Blink 182, something.
some punk rock band that we had in common, and at that age, music was like the binding force of all things. So we bonded really quickly over music, came to be really good friends, and within a month or so, I thought he did not want to date me. I was 17 when we met. I turned 18 in a couple months, and he was like, "No, that's illegal." But I kind of pursued Todd a little bit, actually, and eventually won him over. So I met him. I actually brought him back with me. He surprised me one weekend at the restaurant, and my dad was there that weekend, and he was like, "Oh, we're in trouble." Like, he could tell there were some serious sparks. We were both very excited about the relationship, and he invited Todd to come to the restaurant and eat dinner with us, since he was, in this tiny town anyway with nothing else to do. And would you like to tell this story?
Oh, man.
Or would you like me to tell this
Well,
story?
it was like things had wound down for the night, and they were closing up, and he's like, "Do you want a steak?" I'm like, "Sure."
Well, to preface this, Todd jumped immediately in like he worked there and started bussing tables also. And my dad was like, "Okay."
He's a
Wrapping
keeper. I like
silverware.
this guy.
Okay, yes.
Like the forks around the silver, or the
we
napkins
we
roll up.
fancy. We napkin wrapped our silverware. You know what I'm saying?
So anyway, I was like, "Yeah, I'll take a steak." He's like, "Cool. How do you want it done?" And I grew up in not anywhere near like a barbecue thing, whatever. I didn't know that there were rules with steak, and I just thought if it was pink at all, it was gonna make you sick. That's all I knew. Right. So I said medium well, and he said, "Yeah, nope, you're not gonna have." And then he yelled something at the chef, and they brought out this. I mean, if it was medium rare.
I think he was
Right.
surprised. He's like,
It
"How
was-
are you dating my daughter and eating a medium well steak?"
This steak was blue. It was chewy.
All right.
And he sat there with a grin on his face and watched me eat every single bite. Now I'm a medium rare guy.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's it.
He
Were you at the time
actually
of
did,
taking
though.
those bites, though? I mean, was it difficult for you to eat that?
Yeah, it was like baptism by fire, basically. I don't like to eat them that way still. I prefer them a little more done, but he was doing it.
It
wasn't to be
like-
mean. It was just
the old school dad with the shotgun?
that was
Yeah.
my shotgun
That was
experience.
Todd's shotgun experience, but it was Dave with a blue rare steak. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it was slap its butt, drag it across the grill, and put it on the
Right.
plate. And that's what he gave Todd to eat, the medium well steak boy.
Yeah, you want to date my daughter?
Here's
Eat
how
this
you
steak.
have to eat steak. And by the way, there's 3 more tables to bus after you're finished
Yeah,
eating the
seriously.
steak. Yeah.
But I think
So
after
hurry up.
that, my dad was
Right.
like, "All right, the boy can hang." So we dated, went to college. We got married, and
It's like a year and a half later.
yeah, a year and a half later, we ended up getting married. I graduated with a degree in psychology and early childhood development. At the time, I was working in a counseling center, and I was also working in a crisis nursery for kids in the foster care and governmental care program. So I wanted to do adoption counseling. Todd got his master's in accounting and landed a job at a corporate gig back up in Salt Lake City, where I grew up. So we moved up north. We were in southern Utah at the time, and kind of dedicated a few years to living corporate life and having babies and living in a suburb and all that fun stuff for several years. But I mean, my first baby was like 6 months old. Todd was gone all day, and when he was home, he was studying for the CPA exam. And I was like, I'm going to lose my mind all the way. Because coming from somebody who was very driven, lots of work ethic, lots of school, I was working 2 jobs and going to college full time up until the day I had a baby. And then I had no jobs and no college. I was like, who am I? So within 6 months, I started looking for jobs online, found something I could do from home, and I was literally writing grocery store coupon matchups for a deal blogger. And that was my first introduction to the world of content creation and digital media and blogging, and specifically blogging as a business. She was making great money on affiliate income, sponsored work. Ads at the time were nothing. It didn't exist. Like advertisements on a website were like nothing. And affiliate revenue was fairly new, and sponsored posts were very, very new, but she found a way to make it work and to run a business creating content online. So I worked for her for several years and learned so much about, how to create great content and how to interact with people on social media. And I picked up another job from home from there, where I was working for a company helping them with social media and email management. So I kind of learned the social media side of a brand interacting with an audience. And I learned, how to do some email customer service and email marketing, stuff like that. And then I landed a job using kind of those skills. I landed a job with Traeger, and one of their marketing team guys at the time said, we really need to digitize our recipe library. Because at the time when people were buying a smoker, this was 2012, 11?
2011.
People were buying smokers, and they would just hand them this like spiral bound printed recipe book with 25 recipes in it or whatever. And that was basically your only resource for learning how to cook on this thing. Other than at the time, what were pretty popular were like barbecue forums. And there were a couple of websites that kind of had forums on them and had posts to go along with it.
Right.
And that was like, they were like, okay, we just need like 5 recipes a week starting Monday. And I had never cooked on a wood-fired cooker before. I had a lot of food experience. I loved, eating steak and grilled meats. And I was very, very foodie, and I had all of that digital media and content creation background. So I'm like, I'll figure it out. Like, I can figure this out. So it was, like Todd said, baptism by fire with his steak. Like, that was my baptism by fire, was firing up that smoker for the first time and throwing something on there and seeing what happened. And I cooked a lot of their recipes. I started writing my own recipes. We got through their library very quickly. Like, within the first month, we were through all of their, like, old school recipes that they had written, and then they said, well, we want more, keep writing. So I started developing recipes. And
was this pre-Jeremy introduction to Traeger?
This was after he had purchased it.
Okay, but they weren't
after.
But he hadn't come into the company yet. He wasn't involved.
It had already moved to Utah, but it wasn't like, there's the stories of like everybody being laid off and the whole thing starting over. It was in like the early days of everything starting over. So they weren't in their big warehouse. They weren't a public company. None of that. It was like, we have these smokers. How do we market and sell them? And digitizing recipes became kind of a thing, and writing recipes became a thing. And, when you're doing things every single day, 5 recipes a week is a lot. Like a lot. You guys know. Yeah. I mean, even cooking 5 times a week is like a lot, but developing and testing recipes, it was a ton of work. But I could do it from home. My kids, we always joke, my kids grew up cutting their teeth on rib bones, because my younger boys do. They don't remember a time before I had this type of work where I was testing recipes in our kitchen. So it's been almost 12 years of me cooking barbecue in our home kitchen. And so our kids just grew up thinking that was normal. And like, we're trying all this weird food and cooking all these things differently. And I found that I had a knack for it and that I really, really loved it. So that's kind of where it started, actually.
We were living paycheck to paycheck. Like, I made pretty good money as a CPA, but it seemed to just never be enough. So
3 kids are expensive.
Yeah.
And all the
So they were
recipe
reimbursing all the food costs. So it was like 5 free dinners a week.
Yeah.
And they were paying her per recipe plus any if in the recipe post, if there was a link to buy something, they were giving her some revenue share in there with some stuff. So like, it was crazy. We got to learn how to do barbecue on this pellet smoker and get paid to do it. It was awesome.
And get an inside look at the early days of all this stuff. So you were able to...
The wave was just starting.
It was the very, very beginning. And, Traeger outgrew me very quickly. And it was like the best thing that ever happened to me because they said, we're letting go these remote positions. We're bringing everything in-house because they built a really big, fancy, headquarters. And they're like, we have job openings, you can apply. But I didn't want to apply. And they wanted a chef. And I was definitely a home cook. But through those couple years of working for them and the hundreds of recipes that I personally wrote, many of them still live like on the Traeger app today, but they're uncredited. Like you'll never know whose they were. No. I learned to really love barbecue, and I really became pretty active in their social media platforms. Like Traeger grill owners had a Facebook group that people would join and share recipes, and I just loved the barbecue community that I got to meet online through this experience. And I also, like, when you're cooking that much, I think if you do anything enough, you become pretty good at it. But I learned how to write a really good recipe. I knew that the recipes I wrote were going to be easy for people to follow. And now that I wasn't restricted by the type of grill I was cooking on, I could write a ton of recipes. So I found myself at the end of this, like, digital media working for other people journey, unemployed, and I didn't have anybody else to work for. And our youngest was a year old, and Todd and I sat down and said, he's providing for us, fine. It'll be like lean if we go down to one income. So what do I actually want to do? And he gave me the gift of full freedom to do what I wanted to do. And what I really wanted to do was write barbecue recipes.
I had a choice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm like,
That's...
Well, I just want to iterate. It is a real privilege to be able to have, like, Todd was my sponsor. Like, I had the financial security to start my own thing. Like, and we did it on the super cheap. Like, so cheap. I bought heeeey.com and a year of hosting for like $36 on GoDaddy. And I was like, all right, let's go. Like, I can justify this cost,
Right.
And so that's how it started, and that's how it began. And I think a lot of the fire underneath me came from, yes, like the work ethic that I grew up having, but I also loved what I was doing so much, and it was what I wanted to do. And it was for us, and it was for ourselves, and it was to share what I had learned with other people. And it didn't matter what type of grill you owned. It didn't matter if you grew up in the barbecue community or not, if you had a history of barbecue or didn't, because I didn't. It didn't matter if you were male or female. I could write a recipe that you could follow and have really good results with, and I knew that to be true. So I just went all the way in and worked my butt off, and Todd would help out wherever he could, and I don't know. So that's kind of like the precursor to how Hey Grill Hey started. And it's just been a lot of fun and a lot of work since then.
And I've told you this before, but you two, you in particular, well, you both, because you're both here. I'd say this if Todd wasn't here, but
Sure.
He's here, so I'm going to throw him in as well. But you guys don't phone it in. That's why you've always been such a big inspiration to me. The work that you put in behind, everything is meticulously done, from the way you do your videos to the recipes you post, the content. It's always has come across like a business, soup to nuts. So your work ethic shows through. And I love the fact that, A, you're not a trained culinary person, But B, you don't make it up as you go. You actually put in the work to do all the recipe development in the background, so when the recipe hits your site and the videos and all that stuff, everybody could really know that the work went into it and they could trust this recipe. So you all do a really good job. So that's great to hear how that translated from where you were to how you got. It's no surprise to me. And now that I know that you grew up in the restaurant business, I kind of get where you get the work ethic from. It's pretty impressive.
No, and that's exactly it, the hustle, right? To see, isn't it kind of wild? So when you were starting the blog and you were working on that and building everything, the people around you that were doing similar things, did you find it funny that every time you looked at them, they were like standing still and you were just flying past them with everything you were doing?
Standing still. Oh my gosh, no, I feel like it's just been... I mean, I started around the same time as a couple other people, and many of them have far surpassed me in their like reach and growth on social media, and others have grown in other ways. And when I started, there really just wasn't enough still on the internet. And I think that's why we've been so fortunate. Yes, we've planned and we have hustle and we work and all of these things, but we also hit the market at a really great time. It was kind of the beginning of the pellet grill revolution, where everybody and their dog felt like all of a sudden smoking in the backyard was accessible, where previously there were higher barriers of entry. The education wasn't there. The family history wasn't there. The exposure wasn't there if you lived in a particular region. So having social media come out at the same time, having, .coms becoming so much more established and such, additional resources. Plus, blogging had been around at that time for several years. Like, food blogging had existed. I was just able and lucky and fortunate enough to hit at a time where all of those things were ramping up. And I was able to, like I said, pull from my own experience and all of these different little jobs and things that I had done and put them into one thing at a time when it was ready to go anyway. I felt like all I had to do was just keep showing up. So we have friends that started at the same time that, like, they're huge on social media now, and other ones are amazing, like, in the competition space, and some have restaurants, and, like, I feel like all of us that started at the same time have kind of just been, like, riding this hype train, like, looking around, like, And then there are people that came later that are far more successful than I am in different ways, and I really focused on the website side of things because I knew where my strength was, and that was recipe development and recipe writing. And so I leaned heavy into blogging because that was where I felt I was the best.
Yep.
And it's tangible and real. I mean, we've seen how TikTok and social media has changed so dramatically in the last 2 years. And where is it going to change? So whomever is riding the high on this, they may not be riding the high in 2 years, 3 years from now when the next new thing is, but you've built a blue chip sort of stock business. Your content, your recipes, the videos, your products now, the warehouse, the line of products. I mean, it's just, and that's what at the end of the day, it's great to be able to get engagement, people attracted to you and your product online, but that's marketing. The real business aspect of it, you all have done so well. And again, kudos.
Well,
I like it.
In Canada's like 10 years behind the States in everything they do, right? It's a magic trick, right? So when your stuff came in, Matt, I'm trying to think of his last name, but you guys know him up here in Edmonton. And yeah, he's just a sweetheart, man. And when he brought your stuff in, he's like, look, this is like, and I was like, well, okay, check this out. And as soon as I hit that blog, I was like, they're a damn brand. Like, they're there's the whole kit and caboodle right there. Like, wow. And it started with like picking up one of your seasoning, and that was it. And it was
That's
like,
awesome.
Yeah.
I still work with Cassandra Everett that did your website way back in the day.
Yeah.
I loved your website so much that I got cast to do mine. And so.
Cool.
It has been, we've known each other for a while. It has been an insane journey, and we just every single day, like, we're just out here doing this. Like, this is, this is work. Incredibly fortunate, and it's been a ride.
The fun thing is to be able to go to these, because we're not competition at all. Like, we're backyard, that's who we gear to, but we go to big, the Royal in Kansas City or Memphis in May, and just people are so nice and friendly and welcoming, and we're just immediate friends, and they know who we are, and it's just awesome to have that support and love from the whole community. Like, I think the barbecue community is not known or it's untouted. I don't know the right words, but like it's got to be the most accepting, loving community I think that I can think of. Like it's just been amazing, and so we're super grateful for that.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I every now and again I'll wear my Memphis in May shirt, and there'll be people in my life that don't know much about barbecue at all, and they'll be like, there's a festival and a competition for barbecue. So like people that are really outside of this universe are like have no idea what it's like. But you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, going to Memphis in May and all those things, it's like one big love fest, even though it's an intense competition. It's everybody in the field is just amazing. So the one thing I found interesting too, doing a little research on you instead of just, looking at your recipes and your videos and stuff, was that you have 2 world records. So I found all the information on the first world record that you have,
Those
but I
are
couldn't
so
find anything
old.
on the. But we need to talk about world records. What's the second one?
I don't even know
The
if I
first one is
hold
you
any of
cooked
them.
hot dogs for like 2 days straight with this other random person, but I
my
couldn't find the
gosh.
other world record. So now I need to know what the second one was.
The second one was the largest grilling class. I was invited at kind of like press to go cover it. And Chris Lilly taught with Weber, and we were in the Kansas City Chiefs parking lot, and it was the largest grilling class, and there were hundreds of people. Weber put out a ton of grills. There were 6 people per grill, and it was a really fun experience, and it was one of my first out there as a barbecue
a PR
personality.
Right.
Yeah, and it was a trip. But yeah, the first one is one that has my name on the record for the longest grilling marathon, and we grilled for something like 27.
It was 30 something.
30, I don't even remember. I was delirious, but it was 2 straight days on a New York City street corner in August. And that was super fun. I got to do I got to meet some Food Network personalities at the time. My end all dream was to be on Food Network. I loved doing food television. We did a couple local TV shows, kind of just talking about, what I was doing and sharing recipes, like those local daytime news shows, And I did my first one, and I was like, how do I do this for the rest of my life? That was the most fun, highest energy. I felt like I was floating the whole time.
A few of us went and watched her, a couple friends and her brother and his wife. And when it started and she started going, we all just looked at each other. We were like, oh my goodness, she's good at this. Where did this come from?
Yep.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it felt like I had unlocked this hidden talent that I didn't know that I had. And I freaking loved it. So any opportunity they had to be involved in anything Food Network after that, I was like, I'm going. So when they said that this hot dog thing was a part of a Food Network sponsored event, I was filming a YouTube video in my friend's backyard. I was like, let's go, I'm getting in. And I got picked, and I got to go compete, and it was this whole thing. We got to do back lot tours of the Food Network studios and kitchens in New York City. I cooked with Tyler Florence, and anyway, I was like, this is it. I have peaked. I have made it. There is nothing left after this. But I set a couple more Food Network related goals, and I was going to have my own show, and I got to judge on a few shows. And anyway, we did some really, really cool TV stuff for several years in there that was just truly the funnest. I got to compete on Barbecue Brawl with Bobby Flay and Michael Simon and Tuffy Stone.
You came in second. You almost
gosh.
whooped Leanne's butt on that show.
She beat me. Okay.
Yeah, I know she did,
Let
but you
the
got
records
close.
show.
You were right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
You were almost there.
Oh my gosh. But it was the funnest experience, and I'm grateful that whole chapter of my life happened. It was freaking awesome. COVID kind of wound that back down, which is fine. We're in a really great spot to do. We're doing a lot of other stuff right now, so it's no longer something I'm actively pursuing, but it was so fun. And who gets to do that as part of their career trajectory? That was
It's amazing, and it was
freaking
also
nuts.
cool watching all that stuff happen, because on your stories on Instagram and stuff, you'd always be sharing, this was my goal. Todd would post these things. This Susie's always wanted to be on the Food Network. And then not only were you on the Barbecue Brawl and almost won, but you had your own show, didn't you?
I did.
No.
It was one episode. COVID killed it, but I kid you not. I feel like I'm a religious person, but I also believe that it you can set goals and work towards things, and as you do that, things will align in your favor, right? So that was a big goal of mine, and I put it out there, and I prayed over it, and I wanted this to happen, and I feel like God gave me one episode and was like, okay, we did it. You good? You have other stuff to focus on.
Right.
And so it kind of was this awesome thing where the show aired. It aired incredibly well, by the way.
Right.
We were able to see like the ratings the next day, and for the day that it aired and the time that it aired, like it killed. Our audience showed up. Like there
Right.
was no reason for them to not pick it up except for it aired during early stages of COVID when everybody cut advertiser spending. And so I think Discovery at that particular week that my show aired, they were down $1 billion. So they were like,
yeah.
we are literally not funding any new television shows.
Right.
Like, period. And it was like such a nail in the coffin of like, oh, it's over. And then once it was over, like all of a sudden I realized all of the other things that I want to be doing. Like, you know, I'd focused so hard on this one thing for so long that like reopened a bunch of doors in my mind for me. And we've just been having a ton of fun since then. But yeah, it happened. I did get a show. I'm counting it.
Well, I'm curious as to your perspective. Mark and Faye from the Grill Dads have told me this before because, you know, I always am curious when I'm around folks that have been on the Food Network. And they said, you know, for us, when we did the Guy Fieri thing and then we got our show and then we remember when the first show aired and we were like, we sat back and we were rubbing our hands. We were like, oh, we're going to have 1 million followers on Instagram after
we've
this.
Made it.
Yeah, we've made it. And they said, you know, we got like 17 old grannies that like started following us the next
Yeah,
day.
dude.
It didn't translate into what they had seen in their head. And so what they've kind of told me softly or hardly, depending on how you view this, is that giving it all over to do again, they would put it kind of in a different direction, like Mott's Burger with the YouTube channel and having complete control over that stuff. So have you thought of transitioning with all of your amazing way that you are on camera, your content creation, your personality, and just sort of pivoting into like doing your own show on YouTube or a format like that?
Yeah, man. It's happening. I mean, up to date, our YouTube channel has mostly been just recipe demonstrations. Because, like I said, my focus so heavily has been where I'm really, truly the best is recipe development and recipe writing and sharing recipes in a way that people can have success. Like, you can pick up one of my recipes and follow it start to finish, and it should turn out for you. And that's really one of the hallmarks that I've built an entire career around is, you know, being able to replicate a barbecue recipe at home, whether it's your first time or your 40th.
The YouTube videos were also strategic because with all these Google updates for SEO and blah, 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 one thing, you know, 5 years ago that came out was if you have a video embedded in your recipe card on how to cook the recipe, then you will rank higher in the Google rankings.
Well, it's not stated, but
Yeah, it was unspoken.
You figured that out serendipitously.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and it coincided really well because people wanted a demonstration, especially for barbecue things. Because if you've never cooked something before, there are a lot of terms in barbecue that might be unfamiliar. So if somebody says, you want your bark to feel crispy and look mahogany before you wrap it, and you've never cooked a brisket before, you're like, okay, so part of it's crispy, but part of it's soggy. Do I keep going? Okay, it's like also mahogany, but also like maybe black, and also it still looks like yellow from the mustard. Do I wrap it? Like, unless you can see something sometimes, it's hard to get a full understanding of what somebody's talking about just through text. So video for us, like YouTube for us, was a supplement to the website. It was a way for people to have more successful outcomes with their cooks. And that's really how YouTube started for us, and that's what we focused on with sharing recipes over there. Is I get to be on camera and I get to share my recipes, and hopefully you get to have a better outcome at home. But we just moved literally last week into our house, and this is my first home that we have lived in 12 years that I have been writing barbecue recipes, that I will have a separate kitchen for recipe development and filming and photography and content creation. Like I said, my kids have grown up under my feet doing this in my actual house kitchen, and there have been a lot of times where it's like the most stressful thing ever to try and build a business on top of raising a family and literally doing it in the same room of your house all of the time. And so I'm super excited to have a separate space, and that's going to give us a little bit more creative room, I think, to release some new styles of videos. So you're going to see some things that are a little bit different. We're actually sketching out our content plan through the rest of the year right now, and it's going to feel more like a show and less like a recipe walkthrough. So we're very, very excited.
More of
So-
Todd cradling baby briskets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I got a fun character coming out. You guys are gonna love it.
So this takes us right into the one of the big questions I had for you. And you said it perfectly. Babies running around your feet while you're in the middle of content creation. What are some of the huge hurdles or drawbacks that you had building this while being at home, being a mother? You know, how was that struggle? Because I know just as a dad, you know, floating around trying to do this, and sometimes you can't do a second take. You know what I mean? There's one brisket slice and that's it. And you got someone, you know, screaming with a toy in their hand. It's tell people about that, because I can just imagine the fun you had.
You know, it has actually been really fun. I consider myself like one of the most blessed humans to exist because I got to simultaneously build my business and raise my babies. And a lot of women don't have that luxury or that privilege to be able to stay home. You know, my mom was really wise in her counsel, and she's like, you know, if you do anything, like, keep it in the family. Like, if you have to hire a nanny, like, maybe just slow down some of the ambitions so that you can stay home with your kids, because you wanted kids first and you wanted kids the most. And I was lucky enough to have Todd working a full-time career to where I could take some of those liberties and have that privilege, and that was kind of our arrangement at the time. And then when my business started growing and I was realizing, like, this is taking time away from my kids, I either need to hire in-home help or my business is going to stall out, which is fine. You know, that was an option that I was considering that was on the table. I actually quit blogging for like an entire summer one year because it just got freaking hard. Yep. When my kids were all home from school, I was like, I guess I'm done with this now. Like, how do I fit any of this in?
And in that time, the first couple years, you're not making anything.
Yeah, I was like 18 months in and not making any money, and I was like, how much longer is this sustainable? So there was definitely like a burnout period in there. One summer that truly was like very, very difficult, and I called it quits. Like, I didn't sell the domain or anything. I'd already like paid for it, but I did not post in like 3 months, and kind of had to restart a little bit there. But I'm so glad that I did, obviously, now. But yeah, we hit that point where it was like, I can't keep all the balls in the air. And luckily, by that point, we had grown to a place where I was actually making more money than Todd was, which felt like a freaking miracle. So we sat down and had a really hard conversation, and I said, okay, like, either you need to quit and come home and parent full time, and we'll have a complete shift in our roles, where you take on lead parenting and I become the main breadwinner, or we need to hire help for our kids, or I need to hire an employee to come work full time in the business to help me run all of this stuff so we don't stall out. I'm like, those are our 3 options. And we sat down and looked at our finances, and Todd was heavy into accounting at that time, and he mapped out the next 6 months and said, okay, if we can maintain this for 6 months, I'll leave. Because that to him is like, we'll have enough in the bank with dual incomes. We'll save 6 months. If I have to find a job, like, we can make it work.
Gives us a buffer.
Yeah, it gave us a little bit of a buffer. And the next day he went to work, and he calls me just after lunch. He says, hey. I said, hi. And he said, so I just quit my job.
Nice. Awesome.
And his boss was amazing, and he literally gave 6 months notice. That doesn't always work. Sometimes when you're like, hey, I'm leaving, your boss is like, okay, bye.
Yep.
Thanks for not being invested in the company. But his boss gave him that 6 months to find his replacement and kind of train somebody and transition Todd out of the company. And I got to tell you, nothing is more motivating than realizing you're going to be down to only your income.
So we were out to lunch, and I was explaining what was going on and the conversation that we had, because he knew what we were building, and he knew what I was gearing towards. You know, we wanted to be self-employed, and so I told him what was going on, and he was just a very motivating person, and he was all in on what we were building. He told me this story about some ancient explorer named Cortez or something who, you know, he showed up with his ships, and then when they got there, he had them push the ships back out to sea and lit them on fire.
Yep.
So, like, we're here, we're going to figure out how to make it work. So he's like, look, you just tell me when you want to burn the ships, and, like, let's figure it out. And I was just like, I'm ready. It can't be tomorrow. And then he said, well, just let's take 6 months. That'll give us a really good time to find your replacement, because I had kind of grown into my own role in this company that didn't exist. And it was awesome of him to do that. But yeah, so January of that year is when she said, you're going to quit your job this year.
I was making like $500 a month, by the way.
I was like, yeah, sure.
He was like, I bet you are. Like, from $500 a month to replacing like both of our incomes. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that was in June when I had this chat with my CFO, and then I was gone in December. So that year I quit my job.
So, but it's something you said earlier really struck me, and I want to dive into that a little bit if we can. So that summer that you had the kids at home and you're like, I'm not making any, because I've been there. You do all this thing, and we've talked about this before. You do something, you're like, this is going to be a huge blog post, and you don't even rank or show up for 3 or 4 months after you put this in there. So you've got to be really strategic about your timing. But at the time that you were going through that burnout, what made you pick it back up and start blogging again if you weren't making any money then? What was the dip, and then what was the sunlight at the end of the tunnel that made you go forward?
I just never stopped loving barbecue.
Great
honestly,
answer.
That's what brought me back. Is somebody would share something on social media that they had cooked a recipe of mine and that it had turned out. And this was the experience they had cooking my recipes. And I'm like, oh man, like they're out there. Like
Right.
people are out there, and like there is a need for this, and there is a desire for this type of content that doesn't exist. There is a connection point between me and somebody in their backyard that
Right.
wouldn't otherwise exist. And I loved the work. I loved that I was building my own thing. I became more mindful after that of my time. I actually hired help after that point to help me manage my social media, and I became smarter. I didn't feel like I had to do it all by myself, because it was either I got help or it ended. Like there's no middle ground of doing it all by yourself and succeeding. So that's when I started becoming smarter about my time. I was working more efficiently. I hired somebody in the industry who I really, really respected to be a mentor and a coach to me for like a 6-week like mini coaching session. That was incredibly motivating to me, and, you know, got me back in the game and got me on my feet again. And so it wasn't all sunshine and daisies and roses, especially because that success with like the Food Network and the grilling world record and that stuff, that happened like 6 months into me starting the blog. So I was like, oh, it's all uphill. And then
Right.
when it wasn't,
Right.
what was I left with? You
Right.
know, like
Yeah.
how do you keep going when it's so good and then it's not? And I think we've seen that a lot with social media. Like a lot of people come and go, and a lot of people start big and then drop off because it's not always easy. It's not always successful. It's not always an upward trajectory, and it never will be. And I kick myself now, and I think it's so funny that I was so entitled to believe that it would be for me. Like, no, for me, it will always be successful and easy. Like, no, nobody is immune to difficulty or to strife or to success. And, you know, I kept just thinking if I just work harder, maybe I'll be successful. But that just led me to burnout. And so I learned to work smarter, and I learned to, you know, Todd and I really dug in after that too. We said, if we're going to do this, it has to have a purpose. It needs to mean more than just being a business or just providing revenue. And so in those times when maybe we're not making as much, can we still draw satisfaction from the work that we're doing? Because yes, the money is a great affirmation. Like being able to grow a business is a great confirmation that the work you're doing has value. Certainly. I'm not going to discount that, but it's not always going to be a great month. And you're not going to see growth every month. And you're not going to see growth every year. So do you still love the work enough, and does it still have enough purpose and meaning to you that you can keep doing it when it's a downtime? And so we went back to the drawing board, and like I said, he's been there from day one, maybe not always in the capacity in the company that he is now with the work that he does, but in terms of being like my number one support system and sounding board, he has always been there. And we started with why. We took it all the way back down. Like, why does blogging about barbecue even matter? And we got down to a place where it mattered so deeply to us, and we believed that it would matter so deeply to other people that we could build on that. And for us, that really is those moments and those memories, and taking it back to, you know, my restaurant experiences growing up, putting that plate of food down on the table and being a part of somebody's life experience and somebody's memories, and having that be tied to a food experience. That's incredibly impactful to us. And barbecue is a great way to make that connection. I think better than a lot of food that I've come across. And so it's a place that we have fallen in love with truly in a very deep and personal way. And I hope that like deep resounding reason is conveyed through the work that we do. Like, yes, our branding is on point and our website is great and things are, you know, they feel really professional and meticulous. And I hope that reflects this because we really legitimately care.
No.
Like, we care so deeply about the work that we're doing, and we believe that it has so much value that we want to do it right, and we want to do it the best that we possibly can.
Well, I have to say, it's a testament that both you and Todd hold together a family like that while building something that big. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't see what it's like. We all understand because we're all social media creators, right? Your phone eats up how much of your time?
Too much.
And that's time that you're sacrificing with the kids. I get this all the time when I'm traveling and people are like, well, how do you do this with a family? It ain't fun. It ain't easy, right? Everything that you do to push something farther ahead is going to sacrifice something behind that you can't see and other people can't see. So it's awesome that response was perfect. And it's people need to see that part of it, right? So thank you guys very much.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
How many times have you fired Todd?
Honestly, you guys, I keep trying. He won't quit.
I keep trying to get fired. You won't fire me.
That's not true. I keep hiring all these people to take his jobs. He just
Well,
keeps
one of the
showing
funniest
up.
things, Todd, I remember when you all were launching your product line, and I'm like, good gosh, they sent Todd all the way to China. What is he doing in China?
He just wanted to go.
He was like in China, like going, oh, I'm like, I hope he gets back. This is crazy.
Another thing that no one brings up is Todd has the best looking legs in barbecue. So there's that as well, eh?
I am so glad that you guys noticed. I mean, I can't bring it up because it's weird, and I don't want other people looking.
Yeah, he's
I know
looking
what
at
I'm
him
gonna
right
be
now.
doing.
Because listen to me, I feel like once word is out, I'm gonna have to fight off the ladies, and I don't know if I want to do that, but I'm really glad that you brought it up. He has the best legs in barbecue. Were you voted best calves in high school?
Yeah, like
Most
Tina
likely
Turner.
to be a model,
Tina Turner, this
actually.
guy. It's crazy.
Unbelievable.
I had a
So,
love it.
nickname with a group of girls they just called me Ankles.
oh my
There you go.
gosh.
So,
That's hilarious.
It's
so
really,
circle
truly
back to
phenomenal.
your origin story. It had nothing to do with the rock and roll T-shirt he had on, and everything
my
to do with his
calves.
legs.
The man was wearing
Calves.
jeans. I didn't know. It was like a bonus surprise come spring. I was already invested in a relationship at that point. The first time I saw him, I was like, oh,
T-shirt and legs, I'm all
a
in.
lottery
That's
winner. I had no idea. Unbelievable.
I could
love
see a
it.
sub account now being created, not Taste Test Todd, but calf. Look at Todd's calves.
Todd's
Yeah.
calves.
Todd's
Hashtag
calves.
That's it.
Todd's calves.
Hashtag Todd's
As long as
calves.
it's not my feet, I'm fine with it.
Now this is really going to jump in the rankings. It's going to be a
Listen,
foot
if you
show,
see
so.
us in videos now and I start panning down to his calves after
Yeah.
every shot, like,
Yeah.
oh no, the camera, I forgot to turn it off. There's Todd's legs.
Yeah.
We're just going to see what that does to the algorithm.
So I was waiting for you guys to say you were going to come out with a TV show about will it burnt ends.
Oh my
Please
gosh.
don't. Please don't.
I think that is so funny. So you guys should know something about Todd and I is we take nothing seriously.
Well,
And, well, we take a lot of things seriously, but nothing too seriously.
Nothing's sacred because we don't have a barbecue history.
Yeah. So
No.
because we didn't grow up in barbecue culture and barbecue families, we're like,
Right.
yeah, we can spam some burn ends. And the people that did are so mad at us. Like, no, that is not burn ends. And I'm like, y'all, I know what they are. I'm just calling it this thing that. And they're like, you can't. And I'm like,
Oh, we just did.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
burn ends. And so I do it anyway. And so Will It Burn Ends was a really fun like TikTok and Instagram Reels series that we did. And I feel like we have to bring it back. We kind of stopped filming in the moving process because it was just, moving's the worst. And I never want to do it again in my life. But
you need to do it at the Royal or something. That'd be the ice cream right there. It'd be perfect.
Yeah, we've offended the whole state of Kansas.
Oh, I love it.
And
so
Missouri.
it all started at Memphis in May. I was cooking. They put me in charge of ancillaries, and it was anything beef. And I did filet mignon burnt ends. And so I cubed in like perfect size little burnt ends. And on the top and bottom, I did a charcoal rub. So it looked like bark. Yep. On the top and bottom, and on the sides, I rolled them in my sweet rub, so it had that like smoky paprika red. Yep. Smoked them on the PK, glazed them in like a really sticky sweet barbecue sauce, and served them to the judges. I think we tied for sixth, third? We came in sixth. We tied for third, and so that's kind of how it started. And it started as a joke. Like they look like in that box, that turn-in box, they looked like perfect, classic brisket saucy burnt ends that you would get in a competition style turn-in box. They were gorgeous, they were shiny, they were everything.
It was a medium
and
rare
you bite
filet.
into it and it's a medium rare filet mignon. Like it was just so delightful and they were so delicious that's kind of what kicked off the whole like Will It Burn Ends, saga. But
plus the hot dog
burn ends. I mean, we did those like eternity ago, but it's because we did poor man's burn ends, and then people were yelling at me about that because chuck roast is apparently not poor enough for people, and I couldn't call them poor man's because chuck roast was $5.99 a pound or whatever. So my brother's like, "What's the cheapest thing that you could cube and call actual poor man's burn ends?" And we were in the backyard of my sister's house. I'm like, "Oh, hot dogs all day." So we made hot dog burn ends kind of as like a joke to make fun of the people that were yelling at me about poor man's burn ends.
We like slice it and then cut it open.
Yeah,
in the
if
video
you watch the
and
original
squeeze
video, we like treated them like you would treat a burn end. Like I squoze the little hot dog to have like the hot dog juice.
Yeah.
Anyway, we really did like roll them out kind of to be a little bit tongue in cheek and a little bit funny. They went totally viral. Like I have cooked those on the kitchen on Food Network before and they went everywhere. People started outranking me on like Google search results for like this recipe that I made up in my sister's backyard. It was the funniest thing ever to me that they like took off. And then with Reels and like YouTube Shorts and whatever, they went crazy viral again, but other people making them.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, oh no, I missed the boat on my own trend. And then people were yelling at me for ripping off hot dog burn ends
from some other
recipes
creator.
from other creators, and I'm like, oh man, like I got the receipts on this one, but nice try.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it was so funny. But anyway, that's one that has grown bigger than us, and we've just released it to the world as a gift.
That's what I say to all the purists when they start barking about that stuff. How's your plays looking? Just saying, like there's nothing you can say to that. Whatever it is, like you're getting the views, so. That's crazy.
I don't know.
Crazy.
We're here for a good time, friends, and I am sorry if we ruin barbecue.
No,
We're just
not
doing
at
our
all.
best.
That's the joke, right? Like your pork belly, like a brisket, right?
Yeah.
And then people are like, "That's not a brisket. That's a pork belly. Why are you?"
Oh, we did
you're still gonna
tri-tip like
eat
a
it.
brisket, and people lost
yeah.
their whole minds.
Oh yeah,
The
those
Trisket.
the Northern Californians really hate that one.
Yeah,
But then
the
everybody
Trisket.
did that too because it was really popular. Like
Yeah.
Malcolm's done it now, and Heath's like everybody did them because they were super popular. But it just started in this tiny little Camp Chef group where somebody was like, my people don't like medium rare, but I had this beautiful tri-tip, but I didn't want to cook it well done. So I thought, what would happen?
Yeah.
And it turned out great. And I was like, dude, do you care if I write up a post about this? Because I think people would really appreciate having like a brisket, but out of a smaller cut. And they were like, yeah, no problem. So I write up the post. I give them credit. I publish it. It goes viral again because people are mad about it. And then as is the world in online content creation, everybody now has their own iteration of tri-tip like a brisket, which is like so funny.
But we have a song. So.
Yeah,
Nice.
we do have a song. Our kids still sing it.
That's awesome.
Does it sound like tri-tip like a brisket?
Ooh,
Isn't that
Todd will
the-
sing it for you.
Tri-tip, smoke like a brisket.
I was close.
You were very close.
So let's get into your products and stuff. I mean, you just sent me a batch. Thank you very much. And I did that post on the chicken.
Yes,
and
thank
it, usually you do this stuff and you're like, eh. the sauce and but that whiskey bourbon whiskey peach sauce that you have was a good chicken. The rub and the sauce is good. So what are your lineup of products and what's next?
Yeah, what's next?
So we have a line of 6 rubs and sauces. I'll give you the short spiel. They're a little bit unique in the world of barbecue seasonings and sauces. A lot of the things that you see are kind of built for the competition space, especially if you're going into a barbecue pro shop. So there's a lot of like MSG or phosphates that are designed to very quickly like tenderize and flash season. Like, so the judges get those hot, like zippy taste bud things going on in one bite. We're definitely designed more for the backyard. We use salt from here in Utah where we live. There's an ancient mineral seabed and we use mineral mined sea salt. So it's a little bit of a softer salt experience than you're going to taste in most conventional rubs on the market. What else? Oh, our sauces are also a little bit unique. We don't use any high fructose corn syrup in there, and we don't use any liquid smoke. So when you taste our sauces right out the bottle, you're going to feel like it doesn't taste like barbecue sauce the way that you know it, because barbecue sauce on American store shelves and a lot of competition barbecue sauces add liquid smoke, and that's what we've become accustomed to tasting. But barbecue doesn't really need sauce, right? I think sauce should be like a complement to whatever you're cooking. So by leaving out the liquid smoke, we really let the work that you put in on the grill and the smoker shine. Because who wants to spend however many hours smoking ribs or pulled pork or whatever, infusing it with smoky flavor, and you're hand picking the wood and you're building this clean fire. You're doing all this like beautiful, loving effort to infuse good smoke flavor into your barbecue, and then you're serving it with a sauce that has liquid smoke flavoring in it. I just cannot emotionally comprehend the reasoning and the logic behind it. Even if it tastes good, it just feels wrong. So we don't have any liquid smoke in our sauces because we want the work that you do to really shine through. So they have kind of like a slightly different taste than most conventional barbecue sauces, and we do some really fun flavors, like you said, with the whiskey peach. We have an apple jalapeno that's delicious, and a bunch of other sauces that we really, really love. What else is coming out? Oh, want to talk about the kits?
Yeah, one thing I want to say though, it's been really cool because I think 10 of the 12 things, the recipes are on the website, so you can just make it at home. Who does that? This is a secret recipe, and you can but we've been so successful with sales, and I think that could be a part of it. Our number one selling product is our sweet rub, and our number one reference is the sweet rub post online. So it's just awesome. And the other thing that's been really cool to see is I've watched her handcraft each and every one of these on our kitchen counter, with 10 different bowls out and adding little bits here and there until she dials in the exact specific thing she's trying to get to. It's really awesome to watch. I could never do it. And I'm just so I'm brown sugar, salt, pepper, paprika, throw it on a pork butt. Specific little additions of this and that, and it's just been it's really fun to watch. But
do you do the taste testing before and after? Because rubs always taste way different after they've cooked and melded together than they do when they're in the raw form. So I know a lot of that iterative process is to do the taste testing before and then cook and then after.
Yes.
It's a long process.
Many iterations.
I don't
for all of them.
There are many other sweet rubs that I love better right out of the bottle, but there aren't any that I like more than her sweet rub on a pork butt after the cook. Something that she did. I don't know. It's fantastic. But.
He's not paid to say that.
No,
but he's fired if he doesn't.
There you go. I love it.
No, we've had some fun this last year. So we tried out this new thing with a kit. So back for Thanksgiving, it seems like everyone in the barbecue product world was on the same wavelength. But we released a turkey kit that had a brine, a rub, and a glaze in it, which did extremely well, which was exciting. So we ordered just a few boxes, and then I told the guy printing the boxes, I was like, yeah, let's double that.
So
and then I doubled it again.
We were going to do 250 because we really had no frame of reference for how a kit like this would sell. We'd never pre-bundled things in a way that was for one purpose. And we custom developed the brine, the rub, and the sauce specifically for this kit. And so just cost of production, we were like, okay, like $250, this will be our test run. We'll see what happens. And Todd's like, I think we could do 500. And I was like, that's terrifying because, in an inventory business, you want to move product quickly, but in a food business, especially, we want things to be as fresh as humanly possible when people get them at home. And so I'm like, 500 is terrifying. And then he tells me the next day after he places the order that while he was on the phone, he doubled it and we're doing 1,000. And I was like, okay. So I'm like, everybody on our team, I'm sending out messages, like whatever we have to do, like let's hit email, let's hit text, let's hit social, let's write specific posts about them, let's post a video on YouTube, like whatever we have to do to sell these because I do not want to sit on them.
Calling every retailer,
Oh
hey, will
my
you take
gosh,
20 of these?
will you please take? Anyway, worry was all in vain because we sold 1,000 of them in a week. Like they were gone. It was unbelievable. So Todd totally made the right call. And we're excited to roll out a few more kits this year because I loved the development process and putting it all together was like a really new creative challenge for me. So we're going to be coming out with a ham kit for Easter that'll give you like a wicked awesome, either like a spiral glazed double smoked ham, or if you've never had a pulled ham, it will change your life. My sweet, sweet mother came over and ate one of the hams during the testing process and was like, Susan, she's the only one that's allowed to call me Susan.
Yep.
She said, Susan, this is the best ham I've ever had in my life, and I have eaten so much ham. Like, I don't know what you did. And I was like,
Yes.
this is it.
Mom
We've made
likes it.
Yeah,
Mom
that's
said
it.
this was the best ham ever. And that is now our benchmark for every new product we come out. Like, if it is not the best turkey you've ever had, if it is not going to be the best ham you've ever had, like, I don't want to make it. It's trash. Throw it out. So we've really upped the bar, and we're going to be coming out with a ham kit this year. We're going to be doing some gift boxes for Father's Day and Mother's Day, and we're going to be doing a wing kit for tailgating in the fall.
Nice.
For a smoke fried wing kit that I am so excited about, and then we're going to be doing the turkey kit again in the fall.
The cool thing with this is, and I'm not talking down on, the other companies that release stuff, is like, some of them were releasing turkey kits, and it was just like one of their existing rubs and their turkey brine, and that was their turkey kit, which is awesome. But, we're leveling up. Like each thing in the ham kit, we are going to have our Zesty Gold, which is it's one of our brand new sauces, but there's going to be a brand new seasoning and a brand new ham glaze in there, and it's specific for that kit. They're never going to be sold individually. I don't know. I think it's really fun. It's like limited drops. It's going to be a good time.
It goes back to the beginning that Susie was saying when you broke everything down and why am I doing this? I just read, it's the new year. I'm reading all these new books, trying to get motivated. I just read Atomic Habits. That was the first book.
I'm reading that one too.
Oh,
it's so good.
Awesome. And the thing that made why I'm bringing it up now is the thing that really hit me early in the book is when he said, people always think about what they want to do as the goal. For ease of thinking, hey, I'm going to run a marathon. And then they set the items to get to the goal, right? So you got the goal, I'm going to run a marathon, and then I'm going to train in all this week. But unless you change who you are, the core, he said it's like an onion. So unless you change the who that you are, I am a person that can run a marathon. You're never going to do those steps. You're never going to finish that goal.
You work from the outside in. It's not going to work out.
Right. Yeah. So to me, listening to the way Todd just described the way you do your new products is your core, the way you identify and see yourselves is that question that you pose to yourself. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this in order to make the people the best backyard barbecuers that they could be. Yeah. And so that translates to you're not just phoning it in for these new products. You're actually extending that all the way into
the best ham of your life.
The best ham of your life.
There you
go.
Which seems like so silly, but legitimately is a really good ham.
The comments that we got during Thanksgiving, we were brought to tears a few times of just, people who have been cooking turkeys for their families for, 40 years, and they're like, this is the best turkey we've ever had, and everybody agreed, and that was just really fulfilling to us. I saw it in Susie's eyes, and we could just feel that, and it was just an awesome experience.
Well, that and this is the whole thing that we do as content creators, pushing our recipes and stuff like that. This is for you guys to be able to sell a kit to make a turkey, and say I'm not very good at cooking, and I get that, and I have 10 people over for Thanksgiving, and it's moved everybody at the table. Like you can't pay for that. You know what I mean?
No.
So you've
call
actually,
that the backyard barbecue hero moment.
that's exactly it, and that's awesome. And to know
the
bought
cake
a minute,
flowing
yeah.
behind and the
Like, because we've experienced that, and we want that for other people.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do have a
That's-
question. How much was that turkey kit?
I don't remember.
It was
$39?
$39.99.
All right, so he did pay for it. I paid $39 to
That's
get
it.
those
That's
10
it. Yeah, there you
people
go.
telling me at the best.
Well, I
Hey,
know.
well,
experience.
I'm not going to end it on a bad joke like that, but I know that we're at the end of time. As we are heading into 2023, what do you want our audience to know about the two of you, what you have coming up, public events, new products, whatever? This is your chance to let everybody know something that you want.
Well,
them to know.
we need your fellow Canadians to understand that we had a distribution issue with our products, and I think we're going to be able to fix that this year. So we should be
Back
able
into Canada, baby.
Yeah, we're going to have more widespread distribution throughout Canada stores. It's really hard for us to ship from our warehouse here because we get hit with tons of fees once we cross the border.
Yep.
So we don't like to do direct shipping. Our goal is to expand to all these amazing barbecue stores all throughout Canada.
Yep.
And expand that distribution network up there. So just hold tight, stay tuned. We're going to make it happen, we promise.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Because we love you. We love you up here. So
We
I
love
know.
Canada.
We
We're
feel
so
it.
excited to
We
be
feel
back.
it.
What else is coming up? Lots of new recipes. We're posting new recipes every week on the website and in the Hey Grill Hey app. We love our app. If you haven't checked it out, you should totally download it. I believe it is one of the easiest and most intuitive barbecue and grilling related apps that you can use, especially if you're looking for new recipes. Like, I'll sit and scroll my own recipes at night while I'm trying to figure out what to cook for the family. Like, it's really easy to use. There's a shopping list built in that's fantastic. And the people love it. It's like 50,000 downloads between Google and Apple right now. You should definitely check out the Hey Grill Hey app. It's rad. We're going to be rolling out, like we said, the new kits this year. We're going to be posting some new Pitmaster classes to the Grill Squad, which is our online barbecue school and community. So if you want to dive more into learning about barbecue from me and from some of my friends that are guest teaching, you should check out thegrillsquad.com. There's a really awesome community. We do fun giveaways every month, and Todd and I pop in live to the Facebook group monthly. And anyway, it's a great place to hang out.
It's like our own little Patreon, but it's our own website.
Yeah, and you get to learn a bunch of really cool stuff. You also, when you join the Grill Squad, you get a welcome box with an apron in it. And when you pass off the classes, the Pitmaster classes, we'll ship you little patches so you can build out your own Grill Squad
Nice.
apron. It's
That's
kind of like
cool.
old school, like Boy
That's
Scouts,
cool.
Merit
merit badges. And
Yeah.
it's so much fun. Our community has so much fun. So check out the Grill Squad if you've wanted to take like a barbecue class, but there's not one near you, or you're kind of nervous to sign up. If you want to just take one class and see if you love it, it's $50, which is really like affordable for a barbecue class. So it's worth checking out, and we're going to be filming a lot of new classes for that this year. And
A lot of different new videos.
lots of new videos in the new studio. So go ahead and follow on YouTube. You get to see a little bit more behind the scenes and some of our family and new recipes and
Watch
stuff like
out
that.
for Cabana Boy Todd.
Yeah, I'm going to get him some real tiny shorts so everybody can
fantastic.
really appreciate Todd's legs.
that's perfect.
Cabana
That's
calf
perfect.
tad.
Cabana calf tad.
Cabana calf tad.
Well, thank you guys very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate this. It's absolutely, I can't wait to see you guys again at the Royal, Memphis,
I
May.
know.
We'll do it up. It's going to be awesome.
We're trying to come up to Matt's store in the summer. We're going to try to make it up to your way
Well,
in
bring
June or July.
something warm. Bring
Yeah.
something warm, just in case. You never know. It might be
Yep.
snowing anyway. It's
We understand that.
Well, make sure you give me a heads up. I'd love to be there for it. So,
Yeah, for sure.
deadly.
Thanks for having us, guys. This was fun.
Right on. You guys are great.
I love those two. Susie and
Absolutely.
Todd, they've been huge inspirations to me on the blog and the business side of what we do. Anytime I'm sort of in a rut and want to think about how to better be a professional at the barbecue world, I always look to Todd and to Susie, and so it was awesome having them on and chat and learn about what they do.
That's awesome, and I made sure not to bring up that you copy them every once in a while, and that's good. That's really good. I can tell you appreciate them a ton, which is
Well, I mean,
awesome.
it's. I think that's what their magic sauce is. As you heard
It
them
is.
during the interview, is they do things so well and so trendy that it becomes full circle. That people end up copying them that don't even know that they're copying them. So if
That's
I have
right.
inadvertently copied you, Todd and
That's right.
Susie, I apologize now and
I
will
love
send
it.
you all 57 cents in revenue that I earned off of copying you.
I was going to throw Captain Ron under the bus there, but I'll leave it.
We're
Hey,
not
Captain
gonna do
Ron,
that,
with your
yeah.
Triscuit, Hey, that's
But it's also good to hear the real life struggles. I mean,
Yeah,
this business is ever changing. I know you go through this. You and I talk about this offline. So I found it very inspirational to hear that it all hasn't been this ascent to the top in the barbecue world for them, that they have had struggles both personally and professionally, and what they did to work through that. So to me, again, I found more inspiration and more to like about those two.
100%. And I would like to throw out there to our listeners, right, to our viewers, if you guys like this kind of stuff, if you like us picking at things and digging a little deeper, make sure you hit us up in the comments and let us know. Send us a message, whatever. We're literally shooting this for you, and we appreciate you listening in and tuning in and subscribing, right? So let us know what we can do to make this better for you. We want to bring everything possible to the table in these episodes because we have such a blast doing it. We hope to be doing them forever. So
Yep, that's for
appreciate
sure.
all of you.
Well,
Right
I love
on,
you,
man.
brother.
Love you too, brother, man. Have a good day.
Take it easy.